Section 8.2 is on solving problems that involve rates. And unit rates can be helpful when you're solving problems. For example, if you're planning a birthday party and want to decide how many pizzas to order, considering the rate, which would be the number of pieces per person, can be helpful. It's important, however, to consider the context of the problem when using rates. For example, if you were planning a party for a 4-year-old versus a 15-year-old, you would have to use a different rate of number of pieces per person than you would for a 15-year-old's party versus a 4-year-old's party. So it says, can you think of some rates which can be helpful in each situation below? So planning a trip probably would be maybe the fuel efficiency, kilometers per liter of gas, and that would give you cost as well, like the cost per kilometer, that you know how much money you need to have for gas and that sort of thing. Deciding on a long distance phone plan, you might be interested in the charge per minute, or what, depending on what type of plan you have, or the cost per month or whatever. Okay, so these are some examples. Now we'll just go through that basically use unit rates to figure out answers to questions. So the first one says loose leaf paper costs $1.49 for 200 sheets or $3.49 for 500 sheets. Which one would be the better buy? So if you look at the unit rate for each of those, you can decide which one would be the better buy. So for the 200 sheets, your cost would be $1.49 for 200 sheets. So that would give you $1.49 divided by 200 gives you $0.00745 per sheet. So basically, very small amount, because 2 decimal places would be, if you rounded that off, would be about 1 cent, round off to 1 cent per sheet. So the next one for the 500 sheets, you would have $3.49 divided by 500 sheets, which would be $3.49 divided by 500, which would be, it's not a very good dollar sign. Try again. Be 0.00698 per sheet, which is very close to the first answer, but a little tiny bit less. So this one here would be actually the better buy. So it just kept a few decimal places there, because when you're talking about such small quantities, rounding off, if we rounded off both of them, they'd be the same. But if you look at the keeping the decimal places in, you can see that this one would actually be a little bit cheaper. Okay, question B says you can only purchase packages of 200 or packages of 500. If you need only 1,600 sheets, would it be cheaper to buy packages of 200 or packages of 500? So 200, basically, if you're using packages of 200, if you need 1,600 sheets, you would need 8 times 200 sheets, 200 sheet packages. That would give you exactly 1,600, which would mean that the cost would be $1.49, because it's for one package of 200 sheets is $1.49 times 8, and that would be $11.92. And if you're buying the packages of 500 to get 1,600, 3 would not be enough, because 3 500s are only 1,500. You would actually need to go with 4. So 4 times 500 sheet packages. And that would give you a cost of, I forgot my dollar sign, the last one, you need $3.49 times 4, which would give you $13.96. So if you're only buying packages of 200 or packages of 500, then obviously the cheaper one would be to go with the packages of 200. You wouldn't have any extra though, and it'd be $11.92. Now, if you're allowed to buy, you can only buy them in packages of 200 or packages of 500, could you also buy a combination of those? For example, we know that the $500 package is the better buy, so if we try to get as many as we can out of 500, but then instead of going to that fourth package of 500, so we go with 3 times 500, plus 1 package of 200. What would that cost? Because that would also give us, that'll give us 1,700 sheets, which will give us what we need plus a few extra. So we'd have 3 times $3.49 plus $1.49 for the 200 sheet package. So that would give you 3 times $3.49 will give you $10.47 plus $1.49, which is $11.96. So buying the, if you're looking at just cost, this one would be the cheapest, but you might have to consider some things like, okay, that's the cheapest, but I have exactly the amount I need. So if I wanted to have a few extra for just 4 cents more, I could go with the 3 packages of 500 and the 1 package of 200. All right, the next example, Betty earns $436.25 in 5 weeks. How much will she earn at this rate in 2 years? So what I would probably do there is get the weekly rate and then take your weekly rate and multiply it by, there's 52 weeks in a year, and then multiply by 52 times 2 years, which would be 104 weeks. So the weekly rate would be $436.25 divided by 5, which is $87.25 per week. And there are 52 weeks in a year times 2 years equals 104 weeks. So therefore, 87.25 times 104 would be how much you would expect her to earn, which is $9,074. And just depending, there are different ways you can do this, depending on, some people may have done it in by day and then multiplied it by days. You might get a slightly different answer, but as long as you show your workings, you should be okay, and you get the marks for it if it's correct. All right, during Terry Fox Run, student volunteers distribute 250 milliliter cups of water to participants as they cross the finish line. Each volunteer has a cooler that can hold 64 liters of water. How many cups of water can each volunteer dispense? So what we want to do there first is change the 64 liter container to milliliters. So 64 times, there are 1,000 milliliters in a liter, so 64 times 1,000 would give you 64,000 milliliters of water in each container, in each cooler. So then if you want to figure out how many cups of water, you would want to go 64,000 divided by 250, figure out how many 250 milliliter cups can fit in 64,000. So that would be 256 cups of water. Okay, the last question there, 12-bottle case of motor oil costs $41.88. A mechanic needs to order 268 bottles of motor oil. If he can only order by the case, how much does he spend? So he would need 12-bottle case, costs $41.88. He needs to order 268. So first thing I want to do is figure out how many times 12 goes into 268 to figure out how many he needs to order. And 268 divided by 12 works out to be 22.3 repeating. So that means he would need to order 23 cases, because he needs a little bit more than 22 to get what he needs, the 268, and therefore you can only order by the case, so you need to order 23. So he would have to have 23 times 41.88, which is 963.24. Whoops. 963.24. Okay, that's it for this section, nice short section. So there's some questions down at the bottom that you can try for practice on this.